continuing with the unit number 3, that is inheritance. Today we are going to learn about why and when we have to use the inheritance. And after understanding this, we are going to learn about the different modes of the inheritance. It is very much important to understand the different modes of the inheritance. Then first mode is public mode, that we are going to learn. Next, protected mode, and after that there is private mode. Once you understood all types of these modes, you can easily understood what happened when a particular inheritance you made. Once you understood this, we are going to understand types of inheritance. So first type of inheritance is single inheritance. Next type is multiple inheritance, and third type is multi-level inheritance. So this is the outline of today's session. First is introduction. So as you are familiar with this, that just the capability of class to derive properties and characteristics from another class is called as inheritance. Basically, what is inheritance? You have created the new classes from the previous classes, and the new classes, that is called as derived class, derive the properties and characteristics from the base class. That is called as inheritance. So these are the terminologies. First one is subclass. The class that inherits properties from another class is called as subclass. It is also called as derived class. Next is superclass. The class whose properties are inherited by subclass is called base class, or it is also called as superclass. So these are the two terminologies we should understand, because most every time we are going to use superclass and subclass. Superclass is a base class whose properties are inherited, whereas subclass is derived class. It inherits properties from the another class. So why and when to use the inheritance? Consider a group of vehicles. For example, bus, car, and truck, and you have created the classes for these vehicles. The methods like fuel amount, capacity, apply brakes will be same for all the three classes. So these methods, fuel amount, capacity, and apply brakes will be same for bus, car, as well as for the truck. If we create these classes avoiding inheritance, then we have to write all of these functions in each of the three classes as shown in the figure below. For example, you have created the class bus, then you have to mention fuel amount method over here, capacity method over here, apply brakes method you have to write inside the class bus. Similarly, if suppose you have created the class car, then again same methods you have to repeat over here: fuel amount, capacity, apply brakes. And similarly, if you have created a separate class truck, then same methods you have to repeat over here: fuel amount, capacity, and apply brakes. So these are when you create a separate classes, class bus, class car, and class truck, you need to repeat these things every time. You have repeated over here same methods you have repeated over here, same methods you have repeated over here. So same tasks you have done it repeatedly for each class. So instead of this, you can have another approach. You can clearly see that the above process results in duplication of the same code 3 times. As you have seen over here, this code will be repeated over here, same code will be repeated over here, and same code will be repeated over here. So here it is the duplication of the code, and extra efforts you need to write all these methods. So this increases the chances of error and data redundancy. So what this come to, it increases the chances of error and it increases the data redundancy. Same code we have written multiple times, there could be a chance of error, and you are repeating the same amount of code, that is called as data redundancy. That is called as data redundancy. So to avoid this type of situation, inheritance is used. To avoid this type of situation, you have to make use of inheritance. Once you do some practice, you will understand when to make use of inheritance. If we create a class vehicle and write these 3 functions in it and inherit the rest of the classes from the vehicle class, then we can simply avoid the duplication of the data and increases the reusability. So just see, instead of writing 3 times same code, you have to write a class vehicle. Inside it you have to write 3 functions and just derive this vehicle class into these 3 classes. So automatically the methods present in the vehicle class will be available for the 3 classes. So this is the diagrammatic representation of this. So this is we have defined the class vehicle. Inside it we have mentioned only 3 methods: fuel amount, capacity, and apply brakes. And then just see how we have inherited it. We have created the class bus from the class vehicle. So all the methods present over here will be available to the class bus. No need to write the methods over here in this class bus again. Just only thing is that you have to inherit these methods into the class bus. Similarly, you can create the say class car from the vehicle. Again, these methods has been mentioned over here, and you have created the class car, and no need to mention the methods again in the class car. Just inherit all the methods, inherit the class vehicle, automatically these methods will be available to the class car. No need to write the method for it. Here it is in again. Similarly, you can have class truck. You have to create the inherit the class truck from the class vehicle, and then all these methods will be available to the class truck. No need to write the methods for it again in the class truck. So what happened in this scenario is we have written these methods only once. There is no duplication of the data, as well as we have reduced the efforts, and this code which is already present over here we have made reused in the class bus, we have reused it in the class car, and we have reused in the class truck. So this is the called as reusability of the code in Nheritance. So using Nheritance, we have to write the functions only one time instead of 3 times, as we have inherited rest of the 3 classes from the base class vehicle. We have written these methods only once, and it has been used in multiple derived classes: bus, truck, and car. So how to implement the inheritance in C++? For creating subclass which is inherited from the base class, we have to follow the following syntax. So this is the syntax. This is our class keyword, then this is the subclass name, then colon, then this is the access mode, that is access specifier, and then you have to mention the base class name over here. And this is the syntax to do the inheritance in C++. Open the curly bracket, write down the body of the subclass, and then close the class. So this is the syntax to do the inheritance in C++. This is the syntax. Again, I am repeating. Be familiar with the syntax. This is the class keyword. Then this is the name of the subclass, colon, then access mode, then name of the base class name. Open the curly bracket, close the curly bracket, and inside it you have to mention the logic inside the class of the class subclass. That is the body of the subclass. This is the simple code. This is the base class parent. As you have seen in this on the screen, this is the class parent. Inside this class, we have one public member. We have one public member, that is integer IDP. That is integer IDP. Then we have created another class child from the parent. So how to do it? You have to mention class child colon, and then you have to mention the access mode, that is public, and then you have to mention the name of the parent class, that is parent. So this is the way to create the inheritance in C++. And then write down the body for the class child. Inside it we have mentioned only the public integer IDC. So this is our second class, that is class derived class. This is called as derived class, whereas this is called as superclass, base class. So these are the two classes, and from this class we have created the class child. This is our parent class, this is our child class. And then see how we have use the classes. So inside the main, we have created the object of child obj1. Once you create the object of child, then you can access the members present in the child as well as in parent. So an object of the class child has all data members and member functions of the class parent. So with the help of this object 1 dot id underscore c is equal to 7, you can initialize this id c, means you can initialize this variable. Means with the help of this object 1, you can access these members of the child class, members of the child class. Similarly, with the help of this object 1, you can access the members of the parent class. IDP is equal to 91. We have initialized all the data members present in the child and parent. There is one data member in each class. We have initialized it to 7 and 91. Then mention child ID is object1 dot idc id underscore c, and then parent ID is object1 dot id underscore p. And then return 0, that is end of the main. And this is the output of the code. Child ID is 7 and parent ID is 91. So this is the output of the this code, and this is how you have to do the inheritance in C++. Moving forward, we are going to learn modes of the inheritance. There are different modes of the inheritance, and you need to understand it in proper way so that it will help you to understand inheritance in better way. Once you understand different modes of the inheritance, by looking at the inheritance, you can easily identify what is accessible and what is not accessible inside the derived class. So first mode of inheritance is public mode. If we derive a subclass from the public base class, then the public member of the base class will become public in the derived class. What is this public mode? If we derive a subclass from the public base class, then the public members of the base class will become public in the derived class, and protected members of the base class will become protected in the derived class. We are going to understand it with the help of the code so that you can understand it in easy way. Suppose this is our class A, which has public member integer C. This is our public member integer integer X. Then this is our public protected member integer Y. This is our private member integer Z. So these are the visibility labels and respective variables present in the class A. And if suppose if I said class B public A, if I said class B colon public A, once you say public over here, what will be the accessible inside this class from the base class we are going to learn. So once you say public A, which members will be accessible over here? Let's see. X is public over here. So this X, which is mentioned as a public, X which is mentioned as a public will be public over here, because we have mentioned over here it is public. Next, Y is protected. So this protected Y is already mentioned protected. It will be inherited in the class B, and it goes to the protected area. It goes to the protected area. It will be treated as protected data member inside the class B. Similarly, once you do the public and you are going to access the data members of the private area, this private area will not be accessible here. So this Z is not accessible from B, because private members are not accessible outside the class. Only public and protected members will be accessible. To make the private member inheritable inside the derived class, you have to make that members as a protected. Once you say it is protected, it will treat as a private member over here, and it will also have some access to be private inside the class Y, that is protected. It will treat it as a private also here in the B. And public members, as the name suggests, will have accessibility as a public. So all these public members will be accessible from the class B. And this is called as mode of inheritance. This is called as mode of inheritance. And we have seen public mode. What is this public mode means? Once you say class B colon public, it is called as public mode. And once you say this public mode, here all the public member will be accessible here, protected members will be accessible from here, and private member is not accessible from here. This is called as public mode. And at the end of the class B, so you need to understand what is accessible inside the class B, which is depends on this mode of inheritance. If it is public, all the members will be accessible except the private. Next mode we are going to learn. Next mode is protected mode. Next mode is protected mode. If you derive a subclass from the protected base class, then both public member and protected members of the base class will become protected in derived class. Both the public member and protected members of the base class will become protected in the derived class. With the help of example, so this is our class A, which consists of public X, then protected Y, then private Z. These are the data members along with the access specifier were mentioned inside the class A. And if we say class C protected A, this is called as protected mode. Class C protected A. What will be accessible inside the class C? Just X is protected. Once you say protected, this public X becomes the protected X inside the class C. Y is protected over here. It is same inside the class C because we have said protected. So Y is protected. And Z is not accessible from C because Z is a private member, and private members, keep in mind, you cannot access outside the class. Private members will be accessible only within the only inside the class. So this is all about the protected mode. Again, I am repeating, in the protected mode, public members will be inherited and it will be treated as a protected over here. Protected members will be inherited and will be considered as protected, and private members are not accessible from class C. So this is called as protected mode. This is called as protected mode. Private mode. If we derive a subclass from a private base class, again I am repeating, if we derive a subclass from the private base class, then both public and protected members of the base class will become private in the derived class. Both the public member and protected members of the base class will become private in the derived class. Let's see with the help of code. This is our public X inside the class A. This is our protected Y inside the class A, and this is our private Z inside the class A. Then you have said class D colon private A. Class D colon private A. This is called as private mode. This is called as private mode. And this private is default for classes. If you have mentioned only class D colon A, then if you have mentioned like this class D colon A, you have not mentioned any visibility level, then it becomes the private. That's why private is a default for classes. Keep in mind. If you have not mentioned any visibility level over here, it becomes the private. So once you say private A in this mode, what will happen? Just see, X is private. It is public in the class. In class A, it is accessible over here and it is a private part. Similarly, Y is private. It will be accessible here and it will be private because your access mode of inheritance is private. And again, the Z is not accessible because it is a private member. It is not accessible outside the class. So these are the three modes of the inheritance. First one is public, next one is protected, and last one is private mode. And private mode is a default for this inheritance. If you have not mentioned any mode for inheritance, it becomes the private. Moving forward, types of inheritance. So first type of inheritance is single inheritance. First type of inheritance is single inheritance. In single inheritance, a class is allowed to inherit from only one class. That is, one subclass is inherited by one base class only. One subclass is inherited by one base class only. So suppose this is our class A. It is called as base class. It is also called as parent class. It is also called as superclass. And from this, you have created the class B. From this, you have created the class B. And this class B is called as derived class. It is also called as subclass. It is also called as child class. Keep in mind these terminologies. Class A is called as base class. It is also called as parent class. It is also called as superclass. Whereas this class B is called as derived class. It is also called a child class. It is also called as subclass. All these terminologies belongs to this class B. Mostly it is called as base class. It is called as derived class. And sometimes it is called as parent class. It is called as child class. Sometimes it is called as superclass. It is called as subclass. And this diagram shows the single inheritance. This diagram shows the single inheritance. In single inheritance, there are two classes, class A and class B. And from class 1, that is class A, you have created another class B. That's why it is called as single inheritance. That's why it is called as single inheritance. So what is the syntax to do the single inheritance? This is the syntax to create the single inheritance. Class, subclass name, colon, access mode, base class. This is the syntax. Class, subclass name, colon, access mode, and then name of the base class. And then open the curly bracket, close the class, and you can mention body of the subclass over here. Body of the subclass over here. I'm going to explain this with the help of code so that you can understand it in better way. So this is the code. We have created the class account, and inside this class we have public member, float salary, and we have initialized it to 60,000. You can initialize it to 70,000 or any number. Then we have created the class programmer, and this class is created from the class account. So we have done inheritance over here, class programmer, colon, this is the inheritance mode, public, and then this is the name of the superclass, that is account. And this programmer class is called as derived class. This programmer class is called as derived class. Again, this class will consist the public member as float bonus. Public member as float bonus. You can mention it over here 6,000. And inside main, we have created the object of programmer class. We have created the programmer class object. Keep in mind, we have not created object of account class. We have created the object of programmer over here. So programmer P1, and then we have printed the salary of the employee, that is salary P1.salary. This P1 object will access the public members of the account class, because you have mentioned over here it is public. And just now we have seen, once you say public over here, the public members of this class will be accessible over here, and the salary become the part of the public area. The salary will be present inside this class, inside the public area. You, with the help of this programmer object, you can access this salary. That is P1.salary. Next is bonus, P1.bonus. As it is part of the programmer class, bonus can be accessible by using the programmer object, P1.bonus. So this is how you have used the already variable present, that is salary, in the account from the account class. You have reused this salary variable inside the class bonus. Sorry, inside the class programmer, and you will get the output like this. Salary is 70,000 and bonus is 6,000. So this is how you can do single inheritance. This is how you can do single inheritance. Again, I am repeating, this is our class account. From this we have created the class programmer. All the public member will be derived over here, and then with the help of programmer object P1, we have accessed salary and bonus. We have accessed salary and bonus, and this is the output of the salary 70,000, bonus 6,000. We have not performed any mathematical or logical computation. Just we have written one class, we have written another class, made single inheritance, initialize some variables, and just display over here. But as per the problem statement, you can add the logic of account class over here, logic of programmer class over here, and you can do the computation inside the main. This is the simple program which demonstrate how to do the single inheritance. How to do the single inheritance. So moving forward, next is multiple inheritance. Next is multiple inheritance. So what is this multiple inheritance is? Multiple inheritance is a feature of C++ where a class can inherit from more than one classes. In multiple inheritance is a feature of C++ where a class can inherit from more than one classes. That is, one subclass is inherited from more than one base classes. Just see the help of example. This is our class B. This is our class B. This is called as base class 1. This is called as base class 1. The next is class C. It is called as base class 2. It is called as base class 2. Then from this we have created the class A. From B class we have created the class A. this class A is derived class and this is our base class. Again, similarly, we have created the class A from the class C. So this class A is created from class B and class C. That's why this is called as base class 1 and this is called as base class 2. And this is our derived class. Again, I come to the definition of multiple inheritance. Multiple inheritance is a feature of C++ where a class can inherit from more than one classes. That is, one subclass is inherited from more than one base classes. There are more than one base classes over here. There are two base classes, and from this we have created the class A, single derived class. And this structure is nothing but your multiple inheritance. This structure is called as multiple inheritance. Just see how to do this with the help of syntax. So this is the class keyword, and then you have to mention the subclass name, then access mode, then base class 1, comma, keep in mind here it is the comma, and then access mode, and then base class 2, and so on. So this is the way to create the multiple inheritance. This is the way to create the multiple inheritance. And then open the curly bracket, close the, and you have to mention body of the subclass. You have to mention the body of the subclass. Here, the number of base classes will be separated by a comma. Here it is we used comma. You can have n number of base classes. You can do it, separate it with the help of comma, and access mode from the every base class that must be specified. So all these base classes should be separated by comma. So again, I am going to explain this with the help of demonstration so that we can understand. So I have used this code. Keep in mind these are the three classes, and this is our main. We have three classes: class A, class B, and class C. And just see the definition of how we have written the definition signature of class C. Class C colon public A, comma public B. Public A, comma public B. This is called as multiple inheritance. This is called as multiple inheritance. Now see just how we have written the class A. In the class A, in the public area, there is one variable integer x and one method get integer x, that is get x, which will take one integer number from the user and it will store inside the variable x. Similarly, inside the class B, we have y variable and there is get y method which will take the value of y variable from the user. And then we have class C. Inside it we have done the multiple inheritance, class C public A, public B. So whatever members of the public will be accessible as a public inside the class C. So you can access x and y directly here because all the x and y data members are public. So this x plus y you can access over here. Then inside the main we have created the object of C. So C object 1, and then with the help of this object 1 you can access get x, get y, and sum. all the methods of this getX and getY will be available as the public members inside class A and class B. And from this class A and B, you have created the class C, so it is accessible inside this public area of class C. And at the end, this sum is member method of class C. It is directly accessible by using the object A. And simply, it will do the addition of X and Y. Just see the output. Enter the value of X. Suppose I enter 10. Enter the value of Y. Suppose I enter 20. The output will be 30. Sum is equal to 30. And this is how you can do the multiple inheritance like this. This is your class A. This is your base class 1. This is your class B. This is your base class 2. And this is your derived class C. And this is the signature of the class C colon public A comma public B. You can have n number of base classes. Just do it, separate it by using the comma. Public A comma B. And then public members of A and B will be accessible over here. Now you are familiar with this mode. Just a minute. Okay, so continuing. This is the class C. This is the public A and public B. And this is the way to do the multiple inheritance. And this is the simple code which will demonstrate you how to do the multiple inheritance in C++. Inside this class A, you can mention the logic of class A. Inside the class B, you can mention the logic of class B. And inside class C, you can mention the logic of class C. And inside main, you can create the object of C and you can do perform or call the methods as per the requirement of the problem. Multiple inheritance. So moving forward, next is multi-level inheritance. Next is multi-level inheritance. So in this type of inheritance, a derived class is created from another derived class. In this type of inheritance, a derived class is created from another derived class. Just see with the help of examples so that we can understand it in better way. This is our class A. This is our class A. From this class A, we have created class B. From this class A, we have created class B. And then from this class B, we have created class C. Now see the levels. We are increasing the levels. That's why it is called as multi-level. That's why it is called as multi-level. And this class C is called as derived class. This class B is called as base class 1. And this class A is called as base class 2. And it is this structure shows the different levels. That's why this inheritance is called as multi-level. That's why this inheritance is called as multi-level. Now see with the help of example, syntax, how to do the multiple inheritance. Multi-level inheritance. Syntax, this is our class A. some logic of the class A will be present inside the class A, that is body of the class A. Then this is the base class B, class derived class B, and this is created from the class A. Class B colon access specifier A. Class B colon access specifier A. And this is the derived class. And then this is the body of the class B. Then class C colon access specifier B, we have created this class C from B. And this is derived from class B. And this is the body of the class C. And this is the syntax to create the multi-level inheritance. This is the syntax to create the multi-level inheritance. Next, I am going to explain this multi-level with the help of demonstration so that you can understand it in a better way. So these are the classes. Animal class is there, dog class is there, and baby dog is there, and here it is the main. So these are the three classes inside this code. First is class animal, next is class dog, and next is class baby dog. And just see the signature of the classes. This is the class animal, this is the class dog, which is created from the animal class, and this is the class baby dog created from the dog class. And it follows the multi-level inheritance. Because this animal dog class is created from the animal, this baby dog is created from the dog, and the structure is it will follow the multi-level inheritance. So we have just written some code over here. Inside this public area, we have mentioned void eat and just printed one message, that is eating. Inside the dog class, we have public. Inside the public, we have method bark, and we have written only one statement, barking. And inside the class baby dog, we have inside the public, we have whip method and giving the message as whipping inside the whip method. And then inside the main, we have created the object of baby dog D1. We have created the object of baby dog D1. So D1.eat, D1.bark, and D1.whip. You can access all these methods by using the object of baby dog, and all the methods are public and which is accessible inside the baby dog, because the access mode is public over here as well as public over here. All the public members will be accessible from the class baby dog. That's why the inheritance is called as acquiring the properties of another object. This baby dog object will acquire the properties of this dog object and dog class and animal class. No need to create that object over respective classes. Once you create the baby dog object, you can access the public members of dog and animal class. So it will simply shows the eating, barking, and weeping. Eating, barking, and weeping message on the terminal. So this is the simple code which shows how to do the multi-level inheritance. How to do the multi-level inheritance. Again, I am repeating, this is our class animal. From this we have created the class dog. Just see the signature, class dog colon public animal. From this dog we have created the class baby dog, public dog, and then inside the main we have created the object of baby dog D1 and we have called eat, bark, and weep. eat, bark, and weep, which is present in the dog and animal class. So this is the simple code that demonstrates the multi-level inheritance as per the requirement of the problem statement. You can have the different classes in multi-level inheritance, and you can mention the respective logic of that particular class, and then you can access it using from the main. So this is how you can do the multi-level inheritance.